Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Austin, this is my dad Todd, and we have owned this Ford Bronco Wildtrak for 1 year. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, we are cramped in this garage, so what we ask of you guys is hit that like and subscribe button so Daddy can get a new pole barn. That's what we're after here on Performance on Wheels. And if you guys are new to Performance on Wheels, we have a huge amount of different car videos here on the channel. We have all types of like cool Ford Maverick stuff. We've been building a couple of those. Yeah. Right behind us is my C5 Corvette Z06 carbon wide body. I've got the motor, the top part of the motor torn apart on it right now. Got a new video coming out on that soon. All types of cool car stuff. So like my dad said, hit like and subscribe. Now let's talk about our 1 year recap on owning this 2023 Ford Bronco Wildtrak. Now, as we're working towards the details of our ownership, it's important to know where we've come from, right? We started our Bronco journey in a two-door Big Bend with the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. And after 6 months of ownership in that Big Bend, we transferred over to this Wildtrak. The market at the time, if you're watching this video in the future and you don't remember what the car market was like, it was impossible to get a Bronco.
Literally impossible.
You could not get one, and there was a lot of people willing to pay $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 more than the MSRP to get a Bronco. Now here in, what are we in? We're in almost March of 2024.
Yep.
The market has completely changed.
It has, yeah. New Broncos are now $1,000 under sticker at this current time. And units like this older, well, I shouldn't even say old, this 1 year old, one model year old Bronco, you can expect trade-in values to be $8,000 to $10,000 under sticker.
Right.
So it's dramatic. And think about the amount of people that are 20 grand over sticker purchasers.
I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to enjoy their Bronco for a very long time. So if you look at like true cost to own on Edmunds, it's a great tool. It's usually fairly accurate as far as like their depreciation cost and their true cost of ownership over a 5-year period. It puts the Bronco up into the like mid $80,000 range Wildtrak. That's assuming you paid close to $70,000 for your Wildtrak.
And what did you pay for this Bronco Wildtrak?
Well, we paid a little bit less than most people, and we'll talk through some of those details as we go on. But this specific one had a $64,000 MSRP. The one point I want to make sure we make now before we get into the details of our experience with the Bronco is that first year of ownership. That's when you really get kicked in the nads, right? So that's about a $16,000 hit of predicted depreciation. After that, things level off. It's about a $3,000 per year depreciation, which at the end of the day, when we're talking cars, it's not that bad because after 5 years of ownership, you're in the 50 percentile of retaining the value of the vehicle, which in the car market, that's pretty decent. That puts you in like the Jeep Wrangler and Toyota Tacoma talking point. So pretty good.
They don't care anymore about numbers. They are here to know what we thought about driving this thing the last year. We put about 13,000 miles on this Bronco Wildtrak. And throughout those 13,000 miles, we have had the opportunity to go to 2 different Bronco driving academies. So we've gotten to push these things off road. So we kind of know what they're capable of as well. This one has not had the opportunity to do so, being at the climate that we are in. But we've had a lot of on-road time. We've had some off-road time. A lot of 13,000 mile behind the wheel time. So let's share with them how everything's been the last 13,000 miles. Reliability, what's that been like?
Absolutely, yeah. So Austin, thanks for bringing that stuff up. Reliability's been spot on. We'll just get that out of the way.
This is the 2.7. The Wildtrak only comes with the 2.7 V6. The motor's been absolutely flawless, but there's been a couple technical things.
That has been our 2 flaws, was tech related. One of them self-corrected with over-the-air updates, and that was just our app not functioning appropriately when it comes to the auto start through the app. Key fob was always spot on. The other issue we've had is one of our speakers in our fancy sound system has blown. We haven't addressed it yet.
Does this have the B&O?
It does have the B&O, yep. So this is like the top tier.
Yep.
All the bells and whistles she's got, right?
Yeah.
So that has been it. We haven't noticed any of the quality issues with the hardtop. There is kind of an issue with some cracking and that material falling apart. We haven't noticed any tears or rips in the fake leather seats.
For sure.
Those have been holding up really well. So the materials have been holding up well. I'm going to make a point at the end of this video that I think does a really good job of summarizing the why behind the Bronco.
So here's something that has actually really impressed me about the Bronco. The last 13,000 miles is the overall quality of the exterior of it and the interior of it. It's been pretty solid. But I just checked the front end. I know I looked earlier, but I just wanted to double check again. I don't see any rock chips on the front of this thing.
It's pretty solid.
Like there's a huge gloss black painted grille, which is about as aerodynamic as a brick. And there's not a single rock chip on it.
And this is my wife's daily driver. I need to find a tree or some like heavy duty wood to knock on here. This is the first windshield that hasn't like shattered out of like the last 7 vehicles she's had.
Yeah.
It was hit. There was a rock stripe. It just hasn't shattered yet. So
pretty impressive, especially for the angle that the Bronco's windshield's at.
Right. So when I talk about one of the complaints that we experienced over the past year, and this is minimal, this is expected, but if you're thinking about buying one, my wife made a comment about it, so I feel you guys would like to know. It's a hard top.
Mike say the same thing.
It's a hard top that comes off, meaning this is a convertible. So there is some noise associated with that. What we experience is after we remove the hard top and put it back on, you learn about some new noises. Like you get some whistling and you get some different wind noises as those gaskets move around a little bit. So that can be annoying for some. By no means a deal breaker, but just know going into it, like this is a convertible.
It's
like
a hard top convertible basically, but it doesn't have all the mechanisms that fail with a hard top convertible.
And since we're on that, talking about the hard top, this one actually came with a soft top option from the factory as well. So we picked it up from the dealer and the soft top is crammed on the inside on a pallet.
Yeah, like a $1,500 option or something.
It might even have been over 2. But
I think you're right. I think it was over 2.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money.
We ended up selling it, and we sold it for more than what the option was, so it's kind of silly not to sell it. We didn't see ourselves using it. Awesome idea to have. We just didn't see it as a use case for the way we use the vehicle.
For sure.
What we learned in that process is Ford supplying the parts. They actually supplied like 2 of the right moldings. I think it goes right here. So they gave us 2 like driver side moldings instead of a driver side and passenger side. So that turned into be quite the ordeal. Kind of silly, kind of funny. I feel like there was one other thing that we learned from the factory that was goofy here.
I don't remember what that was, but I think you're right. We'll try to come up with it in a minute. However, yes, the hard top it can be noisy after you put it on and take it off, but this is nothing like a soft top. Not comparable. Soft top is obnoxiously loud. I actually took my girlfriend for a drive in a soft top Bronco. I don't remember what I was doing. I had it for like a day or something. And she thought it was miserable. Like they're loud.
They are.
So this is dramatically more quiet than the soft top. So don't take his count into make it whistles every now and then into comparing it to a soft top. Like it's dramatically different.
For sure.
And it also makes a big difference in the winter here with interior temperatures.
Absolutely. And that's one thing to highlight with the Bronco. We used to have a 2013 Wrangler back in the day, and that thing was always cold. Your fan speed was always all the way on high. Your heated seat was always on the highest temp. What I can say about the Bronco is it's figured out or insulated enough or well enough that you can drive it and enjoy it like a normal car in the wintertime.
I've sat in the back of the thing even in the wintertime, and I haven't ever been cold in it.
It's obviously awesome having the heated steering wheel, the heated seats, but you don't have to worry about just always having your fan on high. It does a great job.
Yeah, that's why I brought up sitting in the back, because there's no vents in the back and there's no heated seats in the back, and it's still warm in the back. So that's a really good testament to show that the top does a good job of insulating the interior.
I did measure the tires on the Bronco. Obviously, we got the 35s, being that it's a Wildtrak. The only way you can get a Wildtrak is with those 35s. We're still at 1330 seconds. I did do 1 rotation, including the 5th tire into that rotation. So we're going to get as much life out of these as we possibly can.
And being at 13,000 miles, these things are really healthy.
They are.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Yeah, so we, as you guys are listening to some of these details, just take in mind my wife drives very conservatively.
Yeah.
So this is like the optimal life or the optimal fuel economy you can get out of a Wildtrak, knowing that my wife drives it, right? So the going back, and I actually watched this the other day, when this had 4,000 miles on it, we were getting like 17.4 miles per gallon. That was the average for the first 4,000 miles of the Bronco.
Okay.
Currently, I've noticed this going into winter and experiencing winter twice with the Wildtrak. That mileage stays around 18 to 18.4 in the wintertime because you're using the heated seats, because you're auto starting it. When you go into the summertime and some of those additional strain on the motor and you're not using that anymore, we get close to 20 with the 35-inch tires and the 2.7 V6. That's pretty impressive to me. Like that's not awesome gas mileage, but for what it is,
for being
it's pretty awesome.
Aerodynamic as a brick, having 35-inch off-road tires on it, I mean that is very impressive. I mean that's better than what my Ford Maverick's getting, which is 2 less cylinders and a lot smaller,
right?
A lot less power.
So because Austin commented at the beginning of the video that we've experienced these off-road and whatnot, the Wildtrak is awesome, right? A lot of people compare the Wildtrak and the Badlands because they get to that similar price point. Yeah. The biggest difference, like, let's be honest, is the fact that you get the stay bar disconnect on the Badlands, not an option on the Wildtrak.
Yeah.
Just if this is your first time looking at Bronco stuff, this is like the Baja model, right? So this is like go off jump.
So what you're getting as an upgrade, so you basically get the stay bar disconnect with the Badlands, and then with the Wildtrak, you get the Haas 3.0 suspension.
Yep, in 2023, it becomes standard, just to clear it.
Standard in 23, the older models, it was still an option, and I'm still blown away by this suspension. This thing rides like a luxury SUV.
Yeah, and this is the point I wanted to get across there. Like, if it's more of a pavement princess and you're like between a Badlands or a Wildtrak,
get the Wildtrak.
Get the Wildtrak because you also get the steering rack that's out of the Raptor. And my experience is you can tell the difference. Like how stable the Wildtrak is, like at speed, around curves, over bumps. It makes it fun because you're like in this Baja rig that even on like daily driving events, if you choose to push it a little bit, or if you're out even on country roads or whatever, it's a pretty good time to drive in that regard. And that's still true a year after ownership.
In the past, Ford's tech has known to get super dated feeling. However, we now have like over-the-air updates and stuff. How's the tech been in the last year?
I'm glad you asked. That's important because everything's shiny and new at the beginning, and you think you have this option, but you get to experience and get to know all the different options through that year of ownership. So the big screen, the Lux screen, the 12.3-inch or whatever screen it is, it's awesome. Like, and it works really well.
I really like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on that screen. It's like, why would you ever use anything else?
My only complaint, and still our Land Rover Defender is the best vehicle I've been in this regard, like when you switch drivers or when you switch phones, it gets confused and it's not always awesome. That's my only complaint in that regard.
The Pivi Pro in the Land Rover, their system that they use across the entire lineup is a really, really good system.
It is.
And I haven't, other than Tesla, it's probably the second best system that I've used. But the Ford Sync system's still pretty solid. Now, what I wanted to bring up in tech is I really like the 12-inch screen. I have honestly no beef with it. It's a little bit laggy every now and then, but it usually works pretty solid. What I don't like is the digital dash or
the lack of digital dash.
Yeah. This super awkward screen with the even more awkward little gauge next to it.
The Raptor's is awesome.
The Raptor has a full digital dash. Why did they not put that in this $70,000 Bronco Wildtrak? I have no idea. Like it just looks weird. The colors are weird. I don't like the layout.
Yeah, we're just about a minute away from me saying my overall summary, which I think is good. But sticking with the tech for just a second here, like your adaptive cruise, your lane keep assist, does a really good job with all that. They work really well. I still have a complaint that I'll bring up. It was the exact same complaint I had day one. That is the lack of usable space, the lack of creativity when it comes to storage inside the Bronco. That's still frustrating at times. It's hard to keep things neat. It looks disorganized.
Very interesting to me how different the design teams are, just because I have it in here all the time, between the Maverick and the Bronco. The Maverick was specifically, everything they did was for more storage on the interior of that thing. And this interior is way bigger than the Maverick, so it's got half the amount of storage that the Maverick does. Yeah. Just kind of interesting.
Absolutely. So that's still a frustration. Not a deal breaker by any means, but if they could have come up with some more creative storage, I think there'd be a lot more happy Bronco
especially
owners.
for those wives out there that have, you know, 10 Stanley Cups that they need, and each individual everything.
Yes, yes, more Stanley Cups. So here's the point I want to make. There's a lot of $50,000 plus, $60,000 plus vehicles out there you can buy. You could go buy an Explorer or you can go buy a Bronco.
Yep.
Everything is fun and shiny when it's new, right? But after a year, after 2 years, what's it like? An Explorer just becomes another car. What's fun about the Bronco, not only in Wildtrak form, it's fun year after year. And why is it fun year after year? Well, you got the higher horsepower motor. You go out to this thing and you're able to go on some off-road trails, or it becomes a lifestyle that comes with it. It becomes part of your hobby.
You have the availability to have a convertible year-round, no matter what top you get. You have the availability to take your doors off. You have the availability to go on a camping trip whenever you want. Let's just go on a camping trip.
Right.
Let's throw a tent on the top of this thing and go explore out in the middle of nowhere. Let's take the doors off and hang our feet out as we drive down the highway on the 4th of July.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah, so it keeps ownership engaging, it keeps ownership fun, and that's what I will say after a year of ownership. It's still fun to get in this thing and zip down the road. It can still put a smile on your face. You can still go out and have a good time.
And it's still better than the Wrangler. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video, wrapping up our 1 year of ownership on the Ford Bronco Wildtrak. Be sure to check out these videos up around us and check out our channel. We look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Thank you guys so much, and let us know down in the comments below what you guys think of the Ford Bronco. Have a great rest of your day.